Rev it up and welcome to Cars Yeah, show number 2341. Today we're going to be talking with the president of a company that makes a product that's been around, it seems like forever. I've used it. I love it. I think you're going to like it too, if you don't already know about it. Be prepared to be inspired.
This is Cars Yeah, where you'll enjoy interviews with inspiring automotive enthusiasts. Mark Green is here to provide you with a fuel injection of automotive inspiration. So get in, sit down, buckle up, and get ready for a wild ride here on Cars Yeah.
Hello, inspiring automotive enthusiasts, and welcome to Cars Yeah. Today I'm in Hamilton, Ohio, with a very special guest by the name of Michael Good. Hey, Mike, welcome to Cars Yeah. Do you have it in gear, and are you ready to release the clutch?
Hi there, Mark. Yes, let's dump the clutch and light it up.
Today is really cool for me because you're part of a brand that has been around forever. I've used your products. I'm really intrigued to learn more about you and the brand. But before we get into that, what's one little thing that people don't know about Michael Good?
Oh, geez. I would say that people think I'm a car fanatic, and I am. But I would trade all that to just have some more time with my kids. And they're growing up too fast, and they're going to be gone. And, I think it's as my kids have gotten older, I've realized the importance of family. And I used to chuckle when people would say it goes by in a glimpse, and it felt like it was moving at a snail's pace. And that's not the case. It does go by pretty darn quick. And so, I don't know. I think I don't have any secret hobbies of any kind like that. I don't know. I make the most out of life. And so far, it's been a great one.
Well, what's that saying? Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Life moves pretty fast. If you don't stop and pay attention once in a while, you might miss it. And I'll tell you something, Mike. I was just interviewed a few weeks ago by another guest that was on my show. He interviewed me, and that's one of the things I talked about. Looking back at my career, I always took things very seriously. I was always the first guy in the office, the last guy to leave, working weekends, working nights. I think I got that from my dad, who grew up on a farm where you always work. And I look back now, and you're understanding something that is very important that I missed out, and that is spend more time with your kids. Because how old are your kids?
I have a freshman at Purdue University, daughter, and then I have a son she'll be a sophomore. My son will be a senior in high school, and then my youngest daughter is going into 8th grade.
Well, what's that? Those words from Nike? Just do it.
That's right.
You got to, because before I knew it, I was driving my kids off to college, and that was it. It was over. They never came back home, which my wife and I said, well, wait, aren't you coming back for the summer? Nope.
So
and my dad said, well, they're supposed to do that, Mark. They're not supposed to come back and live with you. You don't want a kid in the basement, because that's not good for them. You might enjoy it, but
right.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, it's good you're recognizing it. So now your next challenge will be to just do it. Right.
There you go. There you go.
Well, I wish you the best. And it is important because I'm at a point now where we have our first grandchild. Our second one is due in about a month and a half. And even for what I'm doing here is I'm starting to think, how can I take some breaks from this more and spend more time with those grandchildren and with my children? Had my son and his wife over for dinner last night. So there you go. You just got to do it. Yeah.
And grandkids are even better. You get to give them back after you wind them up.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that is a cool deal. It's like driving somebody else's car. Here you go. You can have it back. Sorry about the brakes. They're gone now.
Right.
Well, let's talk about what you're doing. Michael Good, his friends call him Mike, is the president of Dynamat. Yes, you listeners know about Dynamat. The company markets acoustic environmental solutions for a broad range of industries, including automotive and home acoustics. The brand is represented in over 30 countries and have founded over 3,000 storefronts in the U.S. alone. In the automotive world, the Dynamat brand is recognized as quality products for solutions for unwanted noises and vibrations. I can tell you it works. Michael has more than 25 years of experience in sales, marketing, operations, and process management. He serves on a number of nonprofit boards, including several in the automotive industry. We'll be back in just a moment, but first a word from our sponsor, so give them a little love. They keep the fuel in the tanks and the Dynamat in the doors, I should say. But first a word from our sponsors, and we'll be right back. Did you know that Cars Yeah is in the top 1% of all podcasts based on listenership, according to Libsyn, the premier RSS feed for podcasts in the United States? That's right. Plus, DuPont Registry recommended Cars Yeah is one of their top 10 car podcasts for you to enjoy. Cars Yeah has experienced tremendous growth, plus your ads are evergreen, meaning they never go away. And more listeners find Cars Yeah every day for their daily dose of automotive inspiration. Do you want to expose your brand to a highly targeted list of automotive enthusiasts in a very unique and very personal way? Well, I can help you. Contact me, Mark Green, at mark@carsyeah.com or through the website at carsyeah.com today to learn more. Years ago, when it was time to renew my collector car insurance policy, my carrier's rates went up. Way up, but my usage was the same and I never made a claim. I didn't even have a ticket. So what's with that? So I turned to American Collectors Insurance. Has your collector car insurance recently raised your rates for no good reason? Tired of paying an annual membership fee? Then it's time to look around and call American Collectors Insurance. I shopped around, I asked friends for recommendations, and found a winner that I can trust. And boy, I'm glad I did. I saved hundreds of dollars every year and slept better at night knowing my baby was properly insured. American Collectors Insurance have been protecting vehicles since 1976. They provided me with an agreed value insurance policy backed by their history of taking great care of their clients. What could be better than that? So give them a call and ask for a quote today. 866-ACI-YEAH. That's 866-224-9324. And protect the ones you love like I did with American Collectors Insurance. Classic car insurance designed by collectors for collectors. For several years now, you've heard me talk about Linkage Magazine. I've been a subscriber since the start. Their talented and creative team brings you a spectacular publication and website that shares the automotive passion from a worldwide perspective. Linkage is about driving, restoring, collecting, and first-hand experience at collector car auctions and more. They bring you real-world values plus rational, experienced opinions on the current markets. They cover the automotive world and the people who share our passions. And Linkage Magazine has grown, mailing you 6 issues annually. Join me on this journey with Linkage. They're geared for the automotive life. You can subscribe at linkagemag.com. Mike, we're back. So I want to start by talking a little bit about you and how you got involved with Dynamat, because you and I had a wonderful pre-show chat about the similarities of our roles in marketing and advertising and trying to build brands. But Dynamat is a brand that's been around for a long time. So to come in, and you started there at what year?
I started here in 2020, right when the world was in a tailspin.
Oh, Jesus. Oh, gosh. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Well, it's one of these brands that's been around. You can't just rest on your laurels. So let's start with that. How did you get involved with Dynamat?
Sure. No, great question. So the founder of Dynamat, really, I think one of the key founders of the whole sound deadening playground is a gentleman named Scott Whitaker. And I've had the good fortune of knowing Scott all of my life just through families and relationships. And Scott and I had stayed in touch over the years, and I would see him at SEMA and at other car events, and he would bring some of his cars over to some car events that I would host in Indianapolis. And long story short, he reached out to me in 2020, was transitioning out, and said, Mike, you know the industry, you know my business, you're a fan, you're a user of Dynamat, and I'd like you to consider it. And long story short, I took over in July of 2020 and haven't looked back ever since. And it's truly been a privilege and a blessing to be able to, work for this brand for sure.
Oh, very cool. So how or what is your relationship with cars and the car culture?
Sure. No. So it started, I guess, at birth, as my mom would say. My father worked for General Motors for about 30 years, and I grew up around the car and automotive industry. And my mom would say that I came out of the womb with a matchbox,
vroom.
a Hot Wheel in my hand, so to speak. And have just been around it my whole life. Did not always have the ability to work in the industry early on in my career, but I was always trying to navigate to where I would get there at some point. And as my career progressed, I stayed heavily involved in the automotive industry through various different non-for-profits and organizations, and sit on a number of boards. One that most people would know of is the Cars and Coffee. Indianapolis, being the racing capital of the world, has a significant Cars and Coffee presence, and I'm on the board of the Indianapolis Cars and Coffee, along with some others that we can talk about later if you want. But then as the career migrated, worked for a big automotive distributor prior to joining Dynamat, and was just have been around it forever. And I eat, sleep, and breathe the cars when I'm not hanging with my family. And it's been a blessing. And I think it's something that I think the automobile is more than just transportation. I think it's something that unites people. It's something that everyone relies on. So we all have a common interest in it. People always take different appreciations for it. Some people do it as something to get me from A to B, but others look at it so much more than that. And that's where I would fall, I think, on that farther opposite end of the spectrum. I think it's just been a really neat playground for all different types of people to come together and share this common interest around a material, around a vehicle, if you will. And I just think it's been a blessing.
Oh, most definitely. Dynamat has really it's become a verb in the industry. I mean, you think about Kleenex or anything else, people hear that word in the car world and they know about it. I mentioned at the beginning, I have used the product. I've used it in several vehicles that I've had. I love it. It's so easy. It's one of those things that if you're not super technical, say you can't build an engine or a tranny, this is something you can do yourself, and it's kind of fun. It's like putting a jigsaw puzzle together a little bit. But I wanted to know, in your words, what sets Dynamat apart from any competition, if there is any competition? I know that your products are made in the USA. Hooray. I love that. Quality, rigorous testing, and more. But tell me a little bit about what sets it apart, and also the fact that it's not just about vehicles. Also, you incorporate your brand into other things around the home, the office.
We do. So at the 50,000 foot view, as I say, Dynamat does two things. We remove unwanted noise from a given environment, or we help with temperature management. So that's controlling heat or air issues. And I think for Dynamat specifically, getting back to how it became the verb, I take zero credit for that. That was all Scott Whitaker and the previous leadership. They did a phenomenal job of really building the brand of this company and making it a mainstay. And now, to this day, people will say, I had my car Dynamated. And they'll do it even if they're using some of our competitors. And I would say from a competitive standpoint, there are worthy competitors out there, and we respect them. We take them seriously. You'll never hear anyone from our company bad-mouthing the competition. I think competition is good for the consumer. I think it challenges all of us to really up our game. And, I think where we are today with Dynamat specifically, and why we have been able to maintain a market share leadership position for such a long period of time, is the balance. We have really honed in on figuring out that balance between ease of use, longevity, the adhesion, and being made in the USA. I mean, when you couple all of these different elements together, it really has been a profound impact. And, we are in, actually, I think you said 30 countries. We're actually in over 50 countries.
Oh, my goodness. Wow.
The data that we receive back from our international distributors, the number one competitive differentiator for us outside of the United States is that our product is made inside the United States. And that is a very telling element that we take great pride in, that we are USA made. And we actually manufacture the majority of our products right here in Cincinnati, Ohio at our headquarters.
Happy to hear that. Now, I know you have some new products you recently released. One of them is Dynamat Extreme and DynaCore. What are these?
Sure. So Dynamat Extreme is the same product we've had out. It's our DNA. It's the product we've had for a number of decades. All we did with that product was change the look of it. The same exact ingredients are made below the surface, if you will. It's a butyl product with a release liner and a 4 mil aluminum that's over top of that. And that aluminum, we just changed the look of that. It used to be a shiny black with a chrome Dynamat logo on it that was repeated throughout. I spent all of 2020 and 21 and well, I do it every year, but out talking to our customers all around the world and ask them, what do you like about our products? What don't you like about our products? What do you want to see us start to innovate? And one of the things that I got feedback on was, Mike, we'd love it if the product looked different and was more contemporary looking and had maybe a grid line to help us with cutting. And
okay.
The logo was not so flashy and shiny. And we had people say I would drop a razor blade when I was cutting, and if the razor blade landed on the chrome Dynamat logo,
I couldn't find it.
And things that, I just, even though I've installed it 1,000 times, I didn't have that particular issue, so it didn't hit my radar. So we took the voice of that customer and we bring that into our product development initiatives. And one of the changes, April 1st of this year, we rolled out a new look of Dynamat. So it's the same old school, amazing ingredient, for heat dissipation and sound management. It just has a different look to it. That's the Dynamat Extreme. On the DynaCore, this is a brand new product that we also launched on April 1st. This is it's a black fiber-based core product. It comes in both 1/2 inch and 1 inch thicknesses, and that is really used to grab airborne noise. It's great for engine bays and trucks and machineries and even home appliances. We have medical equipment it's being used in. It does a variety of different things from that. Heat resistant, UV resistant, won't break down with moisture or become brittle like certain foams would. So we're really excited about that product. Yes, and it has a lot of different uses. And you had mentioned earlier the different arenas that we play in. And I'll be quick to point this out, but Dynamat was founded in that car audio automotive restoration playground, and that'll always be part of our DNA. That's a huge focus on our innovation and our new product development initiatives. But there are other industries that we are moving into aggressively, the marine industry, the RV industry, OEM presence working with manufacturers. And then there's the home line. COVID happened and everyone started doing Zoom calls from home, yet they still had dogs barking and doors shutting, vacuum cleaners and dishwashers. And, we saw a huge resurgence in our home products, and we've continued to expand that home product line. So we're really excited about all these different initiatives. So yes, we make cars better. We make your car a better car, but now we're making your home, your boat, and your RV better as well.
This is so cool. I love it. One of the things that is coming down faster than anything I've seen in the automotive industry is electric vehicles. And one may say, well, wait a minute, electric vehicles don't make any sound, so what's going to happen to Dynamat? But you guys have a different impression on this, right?
We do, actually. And all the data that I've seen, we were the company with the first custom kit launched for the EV market. We started getting a number of tech calls from various EV car owners. I won't list out any brands specifically, but they ran the gamut on those that were available. So we brought in some EV cars. We did some decibel testing on them and road testing on them. And coincidentally, what we had found, my daily driver a couple of years back was a Audi A4 2-liter turbo. I had just a long commute, and it was a great car from an economy standpoint. And we did the decibel testing on that compared to, in this case, that was a Tesla 3, and they were running around the same decibels.
Interesting, isn't it?
And you would have thought that Tesla would have been dramatically quieter.
Right, yeah.
And I think with EV cars, because there's no exhaust and there's no RPM gauge that's bouncing, and you're not running through the gears, so to speak, because it's an autonomous one gear, it's the road noise. So you're getting cabin noise and you're getting road noise. And in some builds we've seen, you're getting the inefficiencies of that build quality compared to, say, a high-end Mercedes or Lexus or something like that. So we were able to roll out some custom kits for EV cars, and we have been able to have, the data has shown that we're lowering those decibels dramatically to the human ear, for sure.
Nice. I love it. Well, it kind of makes sense. And a lot of times it's those tires that make noises. We all have driven different brand tires. And
correct.
I've always been a big fan of Michelin over the years. And sometimes I've had different tires put on cars, maybe cheaper car tires, and you go, what happened?
Yep, the tires do make a big difference for sure. And there are some brands out there that are really good at making a quiet tire that still performs well in all the elements.
Sure, exactly. Now, we like to talk a little bit about trajectory into the future. I know there's trade secrets and business secrets that you can't give away, but looking ahead, what do we see happening at Dynamite? I keep calling you Dynamite because I think you guys are Dynamite, to quote an old 60s TV show, but Dynamat, sorry.
Oh, it's okay. Every time I'm standing at a counter spelling the name, the person writes down Dynamite. So
of course.
I think it's continuing to evolve. If you think about the industry as a whole, you and I are both old enough to remember a time when noise canceling headphones did not exist. Now there's, thousands of different brands of noise canceling headphones. That's an example that the world has really become less tolerant for unwanted noise in any environment. Obviously, we're really focused on the automobile. But I think when you think about our industry removing what I said earlier, unwanted noise from any given environment, that really gives you an unlimited playground to go out and really drive impact that is aligning to unmet needs that are out there in the marketplace. And so, Dynamat was really a company founded on innovation, and we are heavily focused on innovation right now with, I would say, product development is the number one area where we are investing and focused right now as an organization across all various different industries, from car audio all the way to the other opposite extreme of working with manufacturers, whether it's manufacturers of generators or heck, we've worked with manufacturers of garbage trucks that are trying to make those cabs quieter. And
sure.
so, it really does, you're limited by your imagination of where you want to remove a temperature element or a noise element.
Very cool. I love what's happening here. So neat to go behind the scenes of a brand that I've known and loved for so long. I want to talk a little bit about a driving inspiration in your life. Somebody perhaps that's been very influential, maybe even a mentor that helped you move along. Who would that be?
Oh, geez. I had the privilege to give a commencement address many years back, and I talked about three things. And one of the things that I talked about was how important it was to find mentors for these kids that were sitting out there, adults now that were graduating and getting ready to start their lives. I would say for me, I've always had business mentors, and I actually just recently engaged a life coach because I was curious and I wanted to really tap into that and see what I did not know. That all being said, I would say my wife has probably been my biggest mentor, along with just my faith, and staying grounded in my faith and my church. And, I've tried to not treat my business and my personal life as mutually exclusive. I try to treat them as one unit. And yes, I'm tackling different obstacles within both, but at the end of the day, you want guidance that you can live your life by, not just run your business by.
Awesome. And I love the fact that you recently engaged a coach. I mean, there's any time in life, it's a good time to do that if you can find a great person to give you some different approaches to things, I guess I should say. And especially as you get older, because we do tend to set in our ways and think, okay, this is working pretty good for me. I must be as good as I can be, and you can always improve. So my hat's off to you for doing that. Challenges, of course, we all face these things, and I'd love for you to share a big one in your life. But more importantly, what was the learning lesson when you look back and say, well, that wasn't much fun, but I'm glad I got to go through it?
Wow. I've got one that wasn't much fun that I'll bring up.
Okay.
It's a humbling one. So I graduated high school, was really not ready to get out and tackle the world. I went to college, got put on academic probation because I was just having a good time in life and not really taking it seriously. Second semester, they said, Mr. Good, we appreciate your efforts, but you're no longer invited to come back.
Oh.
And so got kicked out of college. And so I sat out for, it was I guess 9 months, and was out in the real world and realized that, this is not this is not how I saw my life playing out. This is not what I want for myself. And I actually went and visited a friend at a school in a town I had never been to. And I came home and I said, Mom, Dad, I'm going to apply to that college and I'm going to go back. And I went back, ended up graduating with honors in 3.5 years. And then I went back 20 years later and gave the commencement address. So,
wow.
I think it's, I told my children not that long ago, like, our job is to prepare you not for when life's going great. It's for when you're hit with challenges on how you're going to overcome those and not be broken by those. And, that's what we try to do.
Oh, wonderful story. Wow. I mean, that's just brilliant. And I think a lot of people face these things, and especially young people, and they go, oh, geez. And sometimes they end up going down an even worse rabbit hole. But I'm so glad that I'm sure your parents had a lot to do with it too, of kind of kicking you in the rear and going,
oh, for sure.
Come on, Mike, you can be better than this. And lo and behold, we can. And we do make mistakes, but the real reason, and that's why I asked the challenge question, is how to learn from them. And then to share with others. I would imagine there was a lot of students at that commencement address that went, whoa, I mean, wait a minute, you were a college kickout and here you stand? Yeah.
I think a lot of, when you're young, you embrace your accomplishments and you kind of hang your hat on what you've accomplished up to that point in your life. As you get older, and I just passed the 50 mark, you look back at your life and say, how did I overcome my failures or my challenges? And so it's just perspective.
Yeah, hitting the mile marker 50. You're such a youngster, at least from this side of the wall. That's for sure.
Right.
Yeah, there you go. Very cool. Well, as if we haven't had enough fun, let's have a little bit more and talk about a special vehicle in your life. What was that ride?
Special vehicle, man. I've had a bunch. My neighbors have all joked that they don't get used to seeing me in a car because I'll flip it out and sell it. I most recently, I'll talk about the most recent one.
Okay.
I spent 16 months on the wait list for a 2021 Ford Bronco and was able to get, I was told it was the first hardtop in Indiana. This would have been in October of 21. And got that vehicle, put a bunch of time into it, and did quite a bit of modifications to it. Was thoroughly enjoying the vehicle. I loved all aspects of it. I was putting way too many miles on it. I'd put 30,000 miles on it in about 16 months, killing its value. And lo and behold, my kids loved it too, by the way. It was the first vehicle we had owned since they've had driver's licenses that they could take the doors and the roof off of and just drive around town.
How fun is that?
My teenage kids thought that was amazing. But and then January of this year, somebody came up to me and wanted to buy it, and I told them it wasn't for sale. But to an earlier discussion you and I had, everything's for sale.
Yeah, for the right price.
And long story short, it was the first new car I've ever bought that I sold for a profit. So,
well, perfect timing with what's been happening in the car market. It's been a weird market, hasn't it?
It's definitely been a weird market. And then obviously there's lots of stories from my cars in my youth. And, I drove a car in college I paid $800 for, and it lasted me for about 4 years. And the quick story on that one is I took it in, the engine had an issue. I took it to a side of the road repair shop, and I said, can you give me a estimate on what it would cost to fix the car? And they called me 2 weeks later and said, your car's done. The bill is $2,000. And I said,
when did the estimate come into play?
Yeah, I said, you guys never contacted me. And I said, you can keep the car. And I never paid the bill. I took them the keys. I took the license plate off, and they took ownership of the car because I wasn't going to pay them $2,000 for making an $800 car run.
Wow. Wow.
Well, lots of funny stories. They're not all bad.
My daughter was talking to me. We just visited her a few weeks ago that she would love to get one of those new Ford Broncos. So you were, despite putting lots of miles and then getting the right price, you were happy with it? You liked it?
I think they knocked it out of the park. It was a great vehicle, and I'll probably buy another one at some point. They had really thought about everything from the ease of taking the doors off to my 12-year-old daughter being able to take the roof panels off, and then of course the technology was equivalent to any new car you can buy today, and the off-road capabilities of it was pretty staggering. Off the shelf, so to speak, without any modifications. It was a very doable car.
Cool. Well, I love these retro cars that they bring these brands back. Although I still can't understand why Ford named that e-car the Mustang, but we won't go down that path.
Yeah, let's agree on that one. But
what on earth they were sitting around a board. They must have been drinking that night or something. I don't know, but
no.
That one was a weird one. But well, I'm a bit of a car psychologist. I'm going to crawl into your skull here. If you were manifest, reincarnated, pun intended, as a vehicle, what would you be and why?
I'd have to go with a Buick Grand National.
Oh my God. Okay. You got my attention now.
I'd say for two reasons. We're both American made. That's the funny one. And I think to the average person, the car would be underestimated, almost a sleeper, if you will, because they don't really know what lies below the surface. And, I've gone through that much of my life, just saying, okay, the worst thing you could do is underestimate me. And so I don't know, that fuels me. So I'll say a Buick Grand National. And it's a bucket list car for me to own someday soon.
Oh, cool. Okay. Well, there you go. I do like to talk about how people give back, and people in the automotive industry are really good about that. And what I've heard during our talk here is, one of the things you do is you sit on several boards which help give back. Is that your form of philanthropy and how you like to share with others?
It is. I've been involved in a double-digit number of boards over my career, and all non-for-profits, or the majority of those, I should say, were non-for-profits, and has always been a great experience, whether it was related to at-risk youth or to health, especially children's health. Then you get into the automotive side, where even a lot of those are aligned to those same elements of whether it's helping underprivileged people in a given community. Indianapolis Cars and Coffee has various different non-for-profits that it aligns with. There's another one called Automobilia. It's a huge car show once a year in Indianapolis that has really gained national attention as a first-in-class car show that I was involved with for about 13 years. And we would align, I think one year we were aligned to a organization that put defibrillators in police cars.
Oh, wow.
So there are various different ways to give back. And then I think with Dynamat as a company, we obviously do a lot with the local community here in Ohio, but we also support various different cars and coffees all around the United States when they reach out and contact us. We're getting ready. You'll see a press release here in the next couple of weeks. We just partnered with a university that is doing training, skills training for automotive restoration, and Dynamat's partnering with them to really help spur, I think, one of the bigger issues we have in the automotive industry. The enthusiast side is really attracting that next generation because the cars are so automated today and arguably somewhat difficult to work on and tinker with compared to the cars that you and I were able to play with in our youth. And, attracting that next generation of enthusiasts to get involved in the industry is a big area as well, as far as where we want to give back and make sure that we're attracting that next generation.
Yeah, so important. So great books. I know you're a fan of great business books, as I am. Are there a few you'd like to share?
There's one that I read recently that I thought was really profound. It's called How to Human by a gentleman named Carlos Whitaker. And he really came to a lot of notoriety, I think, since COVID through social media. But he just has a book really about how to live your best life. And I think it's profound regardless of what stage of life you're in or what industry you're in. Very impactful. And then there's another one that has a lot of notoriety, and you've probably spoke about it before. It's Start With Why by Simon Sinek. That book and Good to Great are two books that I often give away to new hire employees, especially that Start With Why. I think for any individual, our job as employers is to help people achieve whatever their career aspirations are in your organization. And, if we understand somebody's why, when we bring them in, we can help them evolve within their careers with us. So I think that's really important.
Yeah, I love that why. There's a great TED Talk too by Simon about finding your why. And that's something that I used to do. And I was hiring people or even talking with people that were creating a challenge around the office is, tell me why you're behaving like this. I'm trying to understand. I had a great associate. We used to call our employees associates, but she just could not get to work on time. And, times have changed now with the way flexible work schedules. But, you and I come from a bit of the same generation. Back in the day, you show up to work on time or better yet, early. And she just couldn't do it. And I was trying to figure out what is going on with this person. And I ended up buying her. I brought her in. I said, we need to talk about this again. This needs to change. But I bought you a gift. And I had this nicely wrapped box and pushed it across the table. And she's, looking at me like, oh, gosh. Opens it up and it's an alarm clock. And I said, maybe this is why you're not showing up on time. Now, I don't know if that was the answer, but you know what? She was never late another day. So,
right.
Yeah.
That's pretty good. That's a subtle way to get the message.
Well, yeah, maybe not so subtle. Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Even my daughter to this day goes, Dad, I can't believe you did that. Well, it was creating a problem for me. So,
That's right.
I was trying to find a solution because she did a great job. I loved having her around. So anyway, I guess it worked. So let's go on the ultimate drive. I'm a bit of an enabler, I should say. I'm going to park any car you would like in your driveway. Don't worry about the cost. I'll foot the bill. You can take it on a drive and you can take anybody with you, even somebody from the past who's no longer with us. So what's the ultimate drive look like for you, Mike?
Does it have to be just one person?
No. I've had people do all sorts. I think one guest said, well, I want a private jet so I can take all my friends around the world. Like, man, that's an expensive date.
I think there's 3 different drives that would be interesting to go on.
Okay.
I would say my dad would be one. He's no longer with us. That one, I'd say 57 Chevy, because he had one when he was a teenager, and he always talked about that car. The next one, and that one would be purely for just the emotion of that. The next one would be probably for a business. I'd love to get in a car with Roger Penske, maybe like a 67 L88 Corvette, something that he would appreciate, and just go on a drive with him and talk how he's, I think he's done a heck of a job running a variety of slightly disconnected global businesses.
You think?
So I've always been intrigued and respected, and I happen to live in Indianapolis, where he's the new owner of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway.
Yeah.
And having been to 28 500s over my life and seeing what he has done under his recent ownership, really focusing on that customer experience and putting out a tremendous top-notch product while still growing all of the other elements of the I'll call it the Penske empire, I think is just it'd be a fun drive. And then I think the last one Those two I'd be driving. This last one, I'd be the passenger.
Okay.
And it'd probably be in a Shelby Cobra with Carol Shelby, because I think you have some pretty cool stories. And obviously never met the last two gentlemen, but I'd love to just, he would have been a neat guy to spend some time with.
Wow. 3 very cool drives. I'll tell you, you'll enjoy a guest I just recently had on the show just last week. A guy by the name of Woody, or John Woody Woodard. He started working at Penske Racing when there was just like a couple people working there. He was actually a mechanic, crew chief for them, worked there for decades, and the stories that he shared on his show about what it was like working with Roger, the captain, of course, as everyone calls him, and what he's done were pretty intriguing. He was back in the day before the Empire became what it did, but he eventually evolved into all the expansion that Roger did, to working in their different aspects of their IndyCar league, and the different businesses he had, Penske Leasing and all that. So Roger Penske said, I would love to get him on the show, but he just does not like to do many interviews. And so I haven't been able to land him yet, but so admire what that guy's done. It's hard to fathom.
I know. It is.
Yeah.
And he's not on the press a lot, even in Indianapolis, where he owns the Speedway.
No, I've talked to his secretary. Just, Mr. Penske just doesn't like to do interviews. I'm like, okay, well, maybe how about just to talk?
maybe you just need to get him a link to this podcast. Hear that there's 2 guys out there that would love to chat with him.
I'm sure there's a lot more than 2. That's for sure. Well, you've taken me on a wonderful ride, all of us on a wonderful ride today, Mike. And I wondered if you could leave us with some parting words of inspiration.
Ooh, I'd say one that I heard last year that really resonated with me: focus more on your give than your take.
Yeah. I'll tell you something, a quick story. My grandfather and grandmother were married for over 70 years. And when my wife and I got married almost 40 years ago, I asked my grandpa, I said, what's the secret to having a great marriage, Grandpa? And he said, oh, that's easy. Just do what your wife tells you to do. And my grandmother jabbed him in the ribs and said, don't lie to the boy, Bill. And they had a good laugh. And then he got really serious. He was a really jovial guy. He was a hardworking Texas farmer. And he said, here's the secret, Mark. And it goes back to what you just said. Always be willing to give more than you expect back. And if you both do that, you'll have a pretty darn good life. So, yeah, I love it. Great saying. How can people learn more about Dynamat?
Well, we're on I shouldn't say every, because there's probably social networks out there that I don't even know about, but we're on all the big social networks. It's usually a hashtag Dynamat official. And I know Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all the big ones. And then I'm obviously on LinkedIn. Dynamat's on LinkedIn. And then through our website, dynamat.com. And you can also reach out to me directly. My email's on there as well. Don't hesitate. And I really appreciate it, Mark. You've been a great host.
Well, this has been fun, and we're really nice to go a little deeper into a business that I've known so much about for so long and actually use the products. They're so easy, so much fun. So if you've got issues with heat, with sound, and a whole lot more, check out Dynamat.com. They're easy to find. I'm sure most of you listeners have used them or at least know of them, but if you haven't used them, you need to give them a try. I want to do a shout out to our friend Kevin at Con. The team at Con bring me so many great people. I can't say enough about that company. So thank you for bringing Mike to the show today. Mike, thanks for being so generous with your time and your expertise and sharing your life with our listeners today. Until you and I talk again, I'll see you down the road.
You got it, Mark. Thank you so much. Have a great day.
You bet. And if we have Dynamat in the vehicle, we can actually hear each other talk. So
there you go.
Make it even better. Cool. Want to hear something crazy? Veterans work on billions of dollars of vehicles, planes, and engines while deployed, but they can't touch our car until they've obtained a certification and training requirements for employment back here at home. That's crazy. Tech Force Foundation Military Transition Fund provides scholarships and grants so our veterans can transition to great careers following their service for this great country. Support Tech Force, a charity of choice here at Cars Yeah, and its workforce development efforts for our veterans by donating at techforce.org today.
Thank you so much for joining us on today's ride here at Cars Yeah. Drive on over to carsyeah.com to find show notes and inspiring automotive fun. Download your free copy of Filler Up, a fun book filled with gorgeous photographs of fuel filler fun, including quotes from more inspiring automotive enthusiasts. Download your copy today, and we'll see you next time on Cars Yeah.